Tryna get this paper, motherfucker, stay up, yeah, salute. Talk about that money thing, nigga, talk about it, we run the shit. Niggas on that fake ass, talking about you running, bitch. Niggas be on some lame shit. Every time I hear your name, you's a bitch. Nigga talking hard, nigga switch. Faggot boy, yeah, yo, we won't miss. I'ma slide through, nigga, knock you niggas off. Never gave a fuck, and here's the fuck.
Got too much to blow, I blow too much down. Where did I go? Where can I go? Turned up in the mouth, hit your body like I'm in my
I've been laced up, caked up, longevity, dangerous. Michael Jackson, beat it bad, really can't hang with us. As you pass it, let me flame it up. You act like a stranger, where I'ma show you how to change up. Pay attention, I'ma game you up.
I be on some shit, you shit lit, man, I'm talking serious. Spending too much money too fast, ain't worried about nothing, and I'm running where my dough go. Losing money, less I got bit. Losing money, less I got bit. I got too much to blow, I blow too much dough. Where did I go? Where am I going? Turned up in the mouth, hit your body like I'm my own shit.
I got too much to blow, yeah, I get a lot of chicks. Got bitches rocking vintage Chanel and all that Prada shit. And if you know me, then you know I keep a bad bitch. Only mad at me, cause your lady wanna have this. I told her it's okay, just know I charge a fee.
Compare me to anybody, but they ain't as hard as me.
In the studio, turn, rocking with my nigga Mike. Mills and longevity, my niggas fold. I was on the battlefield, and that's where I got the stripes. I be in the hood, but don't never tuck my ice. Real shit.
Too much to blow, I blow too much dough. Where did I go? Where am I going? Turned up in the mouth, hit your body like I'm in my own shit.
Yeah, listen up, it's B-Eazy, that dude, the great, he ain't fake, he one of the real guys. Spitting fire every stream, you been late to the party, now it's time to realize. From Pittsburgh to the round world, yeah, the flow is elite. Every beat that he slide on turns into straight heat. Came up from the grind, selling box on a laptop, running up a bag, feel like he hit the jackpot. The luxury visions, ambition vivid, never bluff. Purses progress, persevere when the going gets tough. B-Eazy, that dude, got stripes in the game. Every rhyme, every line, they gon' remember the name. From the streets to the stage, the energy don't fade. Legend in the making, yeah, history's what he's laid. Mic in his hand, heart in the flow, and soul on every beat. Dropping knowledge, power, bravado, his legacy complete. Hustle amplified, lyrics electrified, that's the truth. B-Eazy, that dude, established with certified proof. Feel the bass, feel the vibe, let it ride through the crowd. All the words, every hook, man, he keeps making us proud. King of his lane, rising above every feud. All hail the one and only B-Eazy, that dude.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても実は
さすがにです。もう友達できたの？
ブッダはあんまこっち見ない方がいいかも。
This promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks is showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby moving for me slow mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy, that dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really in me. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad Oh man. Okay. So salute to everybody. So this whole time I was talking, but I didn't even realize I wasn't added to the stage. So my apologies. I'm just going to get right into the video. I said all of this stuff and it didn't even get picked up because I was in the back. So you know what? I feel extremely embarrassed. So I'm going to just get straight into the video. But actually, no, I can't get straight into the video because I have to give y'all some context. But y'all see the title, y'all seen the thumbnail. There is a bigoted dude named Jeremy Carl. Trump is nominating him for a position of power. Let me see what the actual position is. Give me one moment. The position would be the Assistant Secretary of State for International Organizations. So he would have some a position of power, prominence, and influence. But the dude has a history of bigoted views, and they're constantly highlighting his bigoted views towards Jewish people. But if there's a person that hates Jewish people, surely he doesn't like black people. And no, this dude doesn't like black people. He actually hates black people, in fact. But they're rarely going to highlight the black hate and the bigoted views he has towards black people, because in this society, they've created a hierarchy of hate where Asian, Jewish hate is like totally unaccepted, but black hate, people try to justify and rationalize it. They'll say, oh, well, we hate black people because of George Floyd. But like, what did George Floyd even really do? Okay, let's just say he was a junkie. And let's just say that he allegedly had a counterfeit bill. So you hate all of black people because of George Floyd? So many of these people that hate us are being nominated to these positions of power. They don't live around black people. They don't truly interact with black people. They watch a fight video and say, hey, look, this is how the blacks are. This is how those niggas are. So they generalize the community. However, they don't want to be generalized. I say, fine, continue to generalize, continue to stereotype. But when people throw a stereotype and a generalized statement back at you, what are you whining and crying about again? So let me get into the video. But this dude, there is a bipartisan effort to deny this dude, not because of the anti-black stuff. The anti-black stuff, people would let him get through, but because he said some things that were perceived as anti-Semitic, they're trying to deny this person the seat. So let's get into the video. Now that I've given y'all that preface, and I want to apologize because I didn't even realize that I was in the back. I was talking. I said a lot of stuff. It sounded smooth. It sounded slick. I was popping it, and y'all didn't even get to hear it. I can't even remember everything I said. So my apologies. But if y'all want to watch this full video uninterrupted, is on the Forbes Breaking News channel. And it's titled James Risch Leads Explosive Senate Foreign Relations Committee Hearing on Pending Noms, i.e. nomination. And it looks like this one is almost 2 hours long. I'm starting it in about an hour, and I'll be fast forwarding it because some of these speakers are annoying. And I just want to get some of the talking points out. I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. Let's get into it.
Hold on to as much of that industry as possible. And America has shown that we can manage plastic waste well, and we can encourage that management style in other places and raise standards where they're currently lacking.
Well said.
Religious collapse. In October of 2024, you stated on the Christian Ghetto podcast that, and I quote, Jews have often loved to play the victim, that the Holocaust dominates so much of modern Jewish history, and that Jews love.
And I would be remiss without giving a shout out. Of course, we had this shout out to Shock Rock King, because bro is always in here 99% of the times. He the first one in here. Then, of course, we got Sincere Saida. We got Roger Meadows, who said, bruh, you at it again. Yes, back with another one. I am trying to work hard. And salute to the sister Sabby. I'm going to reach out to her and try to get her on here and get the bro JB to come back on here. I'm going to try to get John Sin Different. And Roger, I would invite you, but I know you won't come on until I got 1 million subs. So don't worry. I won't be sending you an invite, but I will hold on to your black card. But yes, hey, I'm trying to bang them out, Roger, man. And then, of course, we got Johnson Different, aka John Sinatra. Look up for the content other It Gets Deeper podcast. So, my people in building, let's get back into it. I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time.
To see themselves as oppressed. In 2024, you wrote that you want America to be a Christian nation, and you continued to make anti-Semitic and racist comments even after your nomination was announced last year. You know, Mr. Carl, in this committee, we've heard from many nominees who have said things that we don't agree with. But since your nomination, you've tweeted more than 850 times, appeared on 5 podcasts, and repeated this language. This is a pattern. So how can this committee trust that you can represent the United States of America to the rest of the world in an unbiased manner when you have taken no steps to restrain your conduct after your nomination?
Senator, thank you very much for this this question. I didn't recognize a couple of those quotes, but
well, they're accurate.
I'll take your word for it that they are in fact accurate for the record. Senator Shaheen, I'm greatly understand the importance of restraint and conduct. I unfortunately have to balance that with my current job, which involves advocacy. And I can't, as I've explained, just totally put away my day job. I'm not being offered a job here yet. I'm trying to hopefully be offered a job.
Mr. Carl, it's hard to understand how we can trust you if you can't even restrain yourself during the period in which you've been nominated. Mr. Long, thank you for your comments. I am a fellow Missourian, although I was only born in St. Charles. I grew up in Sykeston and lived.
And that's all I have to say about it. So get me over there at post.
Who do come. If you are sleeping in a position like this, you are wrecking your body and your breathing. Obstructive sleep apnea.
With these agendas that you referred to in your remarks, how do you push back?
Mr. Carl is infamous for deleting thousands of his past tweets, but deleting tweets doesn't delete the many recorded podcast interviews, public speeches, or editorials that he's done. As many of my colleagues have and will point out, Mr. Carl's vile anti-Semitic comments are very real, whether he tried to erase them or.
And one thing you'll notice if you watch this video in full, I'm just going to fast forward because I'm not going to be here for a long time. It's 2 hours of a bunch of boring politicians grandstanding. But I just want you guys to see the political theatrics and many of the talking points, but also the mentality into the MAGA maniacal regime, because they're nominating people like this, known hateful people, known low IQ lunatics and bigots. But for what, right? They say they're being replaced, and then you look around, all of the people in positions of power look like them when they're doling out money based on nepotism, not meritocracy. It's people that look like them. And they're complaining and saying that they're being replaced. The peoples in the positions of power, authority, and influence look like them overwhelmingly. So who are they being replaced by? And if they are being replaced by, it's an in-house situation. It's an in-house dilemma because it's your people replacing and displacing you, allegedly or theoretically. But what you will notice about the people who are Zionists or either Jewish and non-Jewish Zionists, most of the times when they bring up the aggrievement or perceived aggrievement towards Jewish people, they don't bring up any other group. There's no people of color. There's no marginalized groups. It's just, this is how you treated the Jews, and that was anti-Semitic. And what are you going to do to rectify your anti-Semitic behavior? Why did you do this to the Jews? Why did you say this about the Jews? There's no other groups being brought up. But when it comes to the black people, we have to tie our pain and plight with everyone else. We're the leading victim of hate crimes, but we have to be lumped under some sort of people of color, marginalized, overlooked group banner, right? Jewish people are part of a overlooked community, but overlooked by who? If something happens to a Jewish person, before you can spell Jewish, someone in Congress is introducing legislation to protect them. They have countless anti-Semitic proposals to protect them. There's countless legislation and money and resources that go specifically to them to protect them. So it's just, a bit amusing to me when people try to say that, hey, we're all marginalized groups and people of color, until it's time to dole out resources. Then people get very, very isolated when it comes to that.
Excuse them. As co-founder and co-chair of the Senate's bipartisan task force for combating anti-Semitism, the only former synagogue president to serve in the United States Senate, and as a Jewish woman and mother, I'm especially compelled to call out Mr. Carl's record. So I'm just going to put it in context. In a study released this week by the American Jewish Committee, 1 in 3 Jewish Americans state that they have personally experienced anti-Semitism at least once in the last year. And last year, another study that nearly...
So do they have studies about how many black people have experienced anti-blackness? Right? Why is anti-Semitism seen as some special, sinister form of hate? All hate matters, right? Unless we're saying that there's hierarchies of hate. And that's fine if you believe that, then just clearly state that. If you're saying no, all hate matters, then why does some hate get treated as a serious, urgent emergency, and others is just like, well, it happened to them, they should be used to it, right? If Jewish people are used to be persecuted, shouldn't they be used to anti-Semitism? No one is going around calling them slurs. There's a lot of Jewish slurs. Have you heard anyone using one? People are trembling in their boots. If you had a gun to someone's head and say, look, if you don't say a Jewish slur, I'm gonna pull the trigger. People be like, pull the trigger. I'm not saying a Jewish slur. Hypothetically, theoretically, satirically, right? That's what would happen. But when it comes to black people, say nigga, 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 nigga. Oh, I heard it in a rap song. There's no rap music playing. Not every black person says that word, right? So you convince yourself as why you can say that word and it's just a word, but these other slurs aren't words. Won't you say some other slurs? Because they're just words. You don't want to be censored saying the N-word, but you'll personally censor yourself saying all of these other people's slurs. You'll blame when they say it's the blacks. Oh, look at what the blacks are doing in Chicago. Look at what those niggers are doing. But then when it's Jewish people and you say it's the Jews, okay, won't you call them a slur? Now, I'm not advocating for bullying or anything. I'm being facetious and condescending and satirical with this line of rhetoric. But if you think they're these big bad people with this cabal and shadowy government, I mean, the least you could do is call them a slur. You'll generalize all black people as niggers because of one musty, crusty, dusty nigga in the hood. But then you'll say that these Jews are ruining life for American society, but you won't call them a slur. They're ruining your life and you won't call them a slur. Black people did nothing to you, but they're niggers. Make it make sense.
Found nearly 1 in 5 Jewish Americans were assaulted, physically threatened, or harassed right here in the United States. Our own citizens, all of our constituents, everyone.
In international organizations is part of
constituents, everyone combating anti-Semitism. the only former synagogue president to serve in the United States Senate, and as a Jewish woman and mother, I'm especially compelled to call out Mr. Carl's record. So I'm just going to put it in context. In a study released this week by the American Jewish Committee, 1 in 3 Jewish Americans state that they have personally experienced anti-Semitism at least once in the last year. And last year, another study that found nearly 1 in 5 Jewish Americans were assaulted, physically threatened, or harassed right here in the United States. Our own citizens, all of our constituents, everyone. Nobody feels safe in their home communities. And I know this is something that senators on both sides of the aisle really.
Here we go again. When black people say they don't feel safe in their own communities, so what? Get over it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Jewish people most of the time live in segregated enclaves with Jewish police. I'm sure they have surveillance and nice amenities. So when they say they're not feeling safe, what threat are they under? Who is attacking Jewish people? And the people that do attack them is rhetorical. There's people like Nick Fuentes attacking them, but what are they doing towards Nick Fuentes? They'll cancel Kanye West for making a HH song, but Nick Fuentes is just allowed to run amok on all of these social media platforms. Chase Banks said, hey, Kanye, you can't bank with us. What banks are saying Nick Fuentes and Myron Gaines and Alex Jones and all these people can't bank with them? So I really don't see all of this Jewish victimhood. I do see people saying it's the Jews and pushing conspiracy theories. I see that. But most of it is rhetoric. People are not really doing anything about it. They're sharing memes about the clergy plan, and that's about it. What is physically happening to them? Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Who is the leading victim of hate crimes? It's not Jewish people. It's black people. But instead of focusing on the leading victim of hate crimes, let's focus on Asians, who were probably at the bottom of hate crimes. So Asians had the least amount of hate crimes, yet they get a Stop Asian Hate bill that allocates millions and millions of resources to them. Jewish people who many of them own a bunch of record labels and media companies that push degenerate, debaucherous, and depraved images of black people. That's not considered anti-black. It's like, dude, we're just trying to make a buck. But if somebody wants to make a Jewish meme, that's anti-Semitic. Making a meme and a joke about Jews is anti-Semitic. Making disgusting, derogatory remarks about black people is just get over it. Well, tell the Jews to get over it, right? People can make jokes about slavery, but somehow making jokes about the Holocaust is off limits. I don't think people should be making jokes about any of these things, but isn't that equality, right? More people die. What happened in slavery and Jim Crow is an American Holocaust. Look up the definition of Holocaust: slaughter on a mass scale. Did that not happen here? Did genocide not happen here? Ethnocide is currently happening here. And it was much more brutal. It happened for a longer time. Never forget what happened, but forget what happened for hundreds of years. Okay.
Released this week by the American Jewish Committee, 1 in 3 Jewish Americans state that they have personally experienced anti-Semitism at least once in the last year. And last year, another study that found nearly 1 in 5 Jewish Americans were assaulted, physically threatened, or harassed right here in the United States. Our own citizens, all of our constituents, everyone. Nobody feels safe in their home communities. And I know this is something that senators on both sides of the aisle really care about. I do know that. And yet, Mr. Carl, despite his long record of problematic statements, has been nominated to lead our country's engagement with every single country in the world through our diplomatic work with international organizations.
Okay, great. Wait, were you even listening? You haven't taken a single note?
Some may try to excuse Mr. Carl's remarks, claiming his words were taken out of context, that he never said them, and that his own heritage protects him from criticism. So let me be clear. Identity does not excuse anti-Semitism. Identity does not excuse racism. Identity does not excuse hateful rhetoric. Regardless of who says them, words matter, as my colleagues have said. Words matter. Character matters. Judgment matters.
So they have this person in front. They should be asking him questions, but this is a moment to just grandstand. This is why she has this sign up there. She went and got it printed out to say the Jews love to see themselves as oppressed. This is theatrics. Where's the question? This dude, these are pending nominations. So this is just like a job interview. So I get it. They should have some sort of commentary. They should give their monologues and go on their harangues. I get it. But they're supposed to hash out his ideas. Instead, she's just railing against them. And she's standing on business for the Jewish people, but this is just a rant. What is she saying that people haven't heard before? I mean, did Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL write this? Did Bill Ackman write this? Because we've heard this from the majority of, AIPAC puppets and Zionists, right? She's not saying anything new. Where are the questions? Now, I don't think they should nominate this dude, but is she going to put a question in, or she's just going to keep rambling on and on and on?
And to my colleagues that may consider voting in favor of Mr. Carl's nomination, understand what the vote signals. It tells Americans you're willing to use your sacred vote, not just to ignore, but to endorse the hateful statements. It tells Jewish Americans they simply don't matter. And I ask everyone in this room, depending what your age is, many of us here have had relatives, parents who fought in World War.
So she said if they nominate this guy, it's saying that Jewish people don't matter. But once again, if black people say, hey, you're nominating and or electing an anti-black politician or a public figure, what you're saying is that black lives, black existence, black society doesn't matter. You niggers need to get over it. Stop seeing yourselves as a victim. But would anyone make that argument towards the J community? This person is, and he's getting lambasted. And it's a bipartisan effort that they probably are not going to truly nominate this guy. Trump is the leader of the MAGA maniacs, so he pushed this dude forward because he's a good old boy. But what's going to sink him is his perceived anti-Semitism. They don't care that he hates black people. It's just you're going against a group that has certain levels of protection that, will not be infringed upon. Let's just say it like that.
Or two. We know those stories. Thank you for your service. I see a Vietnam veteran in the audience. But imagine them young, or maybe not so young, sitting here today in their uniform. Hard to imagine maybe our parents young, but imagine them young or coming back, sitting here today, looking at us, knowing what they fought for. They're watching us, whether they're there or here. So, Mr. Carl, I'd be hard-pressed to find any person in this room, not any of my colleagues, who would agree with many of your statements. I'm going to quote some of them. The Jews love to see themselves as oppressed. Another one, Jews have often loved to play.
Well, there are some people in the Jewish community that would say that about black people. They say black people have a victim mentality, and black people love to see themselves as oppressed. And then many people say, hey, that is true. All right, fine, it's true. But then someone says it against their community. How could you say that? That's anti-Semitic. Well, a lot of times you do hear many Jewish people, not all, but there are many in the Jewish community who do consistently talk about oppression. The never forget means remember my oppression into eternity. That's what it's essentially saying. Never forget. Never forget what? never forget that they were oppressed. So I'm not going as far as to say they love to see themselves as oppressed, but they certainly will remind you that they're oppressed. And then when you look at someone like Ilhan Omar, who I don't support, but she had to apologize and bend the knee to the Jewish community because she said it's all about the Benjamins. Hold on. Huh? Black people, get over being called nigger. It's just a word. Ilhan Omar says it's all about the Benjamins, which it is. This is why people say get money out of politics. And they say that plays into a racial or ethnic stereotype about Jews and money. Huh? Do Jews like money? Yes. Do black people like money? Yes. Do Hispanics like money? Yes. So how is that a negative trope? Get over being saying that you have big lips and you love fried chicken and watermelon. Get over that. But you can't get over people saying you're good with money or obsessed with money. Okay. I mean, are you really a victim because someone said that? If someone says, hey, I don't know if 6 million people died in the H cause, maybe it was 5 or maybe it was 10. That's anti-Semitic. You're denying. No, I'm not denying. I'm saying it's happened. I just don't know if the numbers are accurate. They could have been less. They could have been more. Anti-Semitic. How? People could deny and downplay slavery all the time. And then they try to say, well, slavery was everywhere. Well, what happened to the Holocaust happened everywhere. What's happening to Jewish people wasn't unique. Where did the Adolf dude learn his barbarism from? Here in America. So that means other people had already done it before. King Leopold allegedly was responsible from anywhere from 10 to 14 plus million deaths, slaughtering people, cutting off limbs and all of this stuff, right? How are we making to see like the Adolf dude was the worst monster to ever walk the face of the earth? And if he was this Frankenstein monster, who gave birth to that Frankenstein? See, Frankenstein would have just been on the table. Someone gave birth to Frankenstein. Who was that? America. But he's the big bad boogeyman. No, he learned from the big bad boogeyman. America.
The victim rather accept that they are participants in history. There's another one. Hitler is always the convenient kind of bad example. Hitler is always a convenient kind of bad example. Anyone who had family members who served in World War II, I wish they were here to argue with you on that one. I'm very critical.
I would argue with her on that one. I don't know why people just try to make it seem like Adolf was just this, evil that the world has never seen before. If we're just going purely off numbers, there's people that have passed his numbers of fatalities exponentially. So, what metrics are we judging this by? Just because he harmed a specific demographic, then he has to be painted as the most abominable, abhorrent monster to ever walk the face of the earth? I don't agree with that. I don't think that he's a good dude by any stretch of the imagination. I think the people who trained him on his evil, sinister, and detestable ways, I think they're worse than him. The people who trained him are American.
Another thing you said of overall political stance and sociology of the Jewish community, particularly in this century. It's been very destructive overall. Another quote, you guys, referring to the Jews, are spearheading a lot of bad causes. Okay. Another quote, we need to unashamedly criticize and critique them, referring to the Jews when they're enemies, without being worried about being called anti-Semites. And finally,
well, if you think Jews have a victim mentality, what you're saying is other white people have a victim mentality. There's no race called Jew and there's no race called Jewish. This person right here who is talking is a white Jewish woman. So yeah, You try to say, oh, you have a victim mentality just like the Jews. Oh, you mean the white ones, the people that is part of your community? What are we really talking about here? Bernie Sanders. What race is Bernie Sanders again? He's Jewish. Yeah, but that's not a race. Bernie Sanders is an old white dude. Jake Tapper is a white Jewish CNN commentator. Dana Bash, a white Jewish commentator. What are we really talking about here? Go tell Jake Tapper and Bernie Sanders that they have a victim mentality. Jeffrey Epstein, a white Jewish PDF file. Emphasis on white. And there's nothing wrong with being white. If you are white, you should be proud of it. Why are you trying to deny your whiteness and the whiteness of others?
Discussing the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews, almost half the population, Jewish population alive at the time, were slaughtered, an event that continues to be denied to this day. You say the Holocaust kind of dominates just so much of modern Jewish thinking, even today. Everyone has traumas in their past. How much are we going to kind of relitigate them? Say that to the memories of the folks who fought in World War II, fought and died. So speaking to my colleagues, a vote in favor of Mr. Carl is a full-throated endorsement of any and all of these statements.
So as you can see, she just went on her soapbox. She didn't even ask the dude a question at all. This is supposed to be like an interview, but she just took the liberty to try to say that, hey, you know, if you nominate him, this would be an affront to Jews. That's all this was about. Like, no questions for him. Okay. Moving along.
Do you spend all day in meetings?
And I may move through some of these a little bit quicker because I won't be here for too long. And some of these people are just extremely boring.
As the ranking Democrat on the Interior Spending Committee, so I'm very familiar with the
Non-proliferation issues, although certainly would not call myself an expert.
Yeah. I'm familiar with your distributed power in the U.S. Book, but that is very different from the nuclear non-proliferation issue. Which role is most important? The U.S. ambassador to the U.S.
white values that you
Okay, here's a good one right
Any
here.
other places.
So you're it's read to you, but I
need to graduate China from the ADB. And secondly, related but somewhat different is ending the lending, right? Which is probably a somewhat more immediate.
Honestly, I don't know anyone denying the Holocaust. Even if you don't deny it, even if some people say, hey, I know that it happened, but I don't think it was 6 million. I think it was less. Or even if you say you think it was more, sometimes people consider that anti-Semitic because, you know, you're not supposed to question it at all. And the only people that do deny it are typically, you know, incels and, you know, brain dead bigots who are trying to incite, some sort of Jewish emotional reaction. But anyone with an IQ above room temperature doesn't deny it. However, people do scrutinize it. And I think many people, they get a little bit petty because once you start to scrutinize it, they label you as anti-Semitic without ever answering a question. So like I said, if you think that the number was higher or a little bit lower, why are you considered anti-Semitic? If you believe the number is what it is, you should be able to easily debunk me. Instead, the conversation gets shut down and there's ad hominem attacks and you're labeled as anti-Semitic, and particularly sometimes your job and livelihood may be threatened just for asking a question. And for some people, it shuts them up permanently. And for others, it makes them think, why can't I criticize this group of chosen untouchables? It leads people down this mystery rabbit hole where they point fingers without proof. And then some people start to uncover proof and then they get silenced because of it. So it's a bit of a cluster flop. Let's just call it that. But now it's going to start getting into some more meat and potatoes of the exchange. because many of these other people were grandstanding, but I just wanted to show you this is what Congress is doing. They can't pass any bills that are meaningful to your life, but they could print out signs and do these political theater and just say, hey, look at me. You know, I'm standing up for my community. But that's identity politics. They say that it's woke, but only standing up for Jewish people. That's identity politics. Pandering towards evangelicals. Identity politics. Pandering towards trans people and immigrants. Identity politics. Pandering towards we need more white babies is identity politics. All politics is identity politics. People just selectively frame certain political campaigns as identity politics, and others it's just, oh no, you know, it's just kind of the norm. Yeah, the normal identity politics. All right, let's get into it. Hold on, let me fast forward a little bit. All right, here we go.
It's just heartbreaking that you have been nominated for this position and that you've reached a panel before the United States Senate. But I do want to give you a chance to go a little bit deeper in your explanations of your personal beliefs. They are directly relevant to your fitness to serve. You already have had some of your statements read to you, but I'd like you to respond to at least a few of them. One of the things you have said is that anti-white discrimination is the most pervasive and politically salient form of racism today. So do you continue to believe that anti-white discrimination is more salient than the discrimination faced today by Blacks, Latinos, Muslims, or other American groups?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. And thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases, Asian Americans.
Well, just it may be.
So this is what they always try to do. They say that whites are being discriminated against, and then they immediately pivot and say, whites, oh yeah, and Asians too. So it's not just white, Asians are being discriminated against too. So they try to form this fake coalition as if they really care about Asians, but they just use them as a model minority pet and buffer group. All they care about is white babies. They're not saying we need more white and Asian babies. They're saying we need more white babies. However, just like when they want to get something passed, the same thing they did with Harvard, they said whites and Asians are being discriminated against. So they said, let's end affirmative action, even though affirmative action mainly benefits white people. Affirmative action mainly benefited white women. Most white women are married to white men. So that means it benefits the white household. So here you have this dude who's white, and I believe he identifies as Jewish as well, whining like a victim. Cue the tiny violin, someone. Whining like a victim, saying that whites are being discriminated against. And here, I'll throw you a bone. Some Asians too. So it's not just about whites, it's about another minority group. Let's just say that whites and Asians are being discriminated against, which is overblown. Who was doing the discrimination? On one hand, you guys saying that blacks are low IQ, lazy, and have no institutional and infrastructural power. Fine. We'll accept that, right? So who does have the power? It would be people that look like him. It's people like him that are allegedly discriminating against him. It's people like him who are implementing DEI and affirmative action programs. And instead of getting mad at his community, he's taking the vitriol out on the people who are considered marginalized and powerless. How pathetic and cowardly could you be? Let's rewind that back so we can hear white victimhood 101. Whites are being oppressed. Yeah, okay, fine. By who? George Floyd and BLM. Okay. That's who's oppressing you. Got you.
So do you continue to believe that anti-white discrimination is more salient than the discrimination faced today by Blacks, Latinos, Muslims, or other American groups?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. And thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind.
He should have asked them what those policies were, because those policies, they didn't really discriminate against white people. All those policies did was say, hey, look, these industries are overrepresented with white people and we need to bring in some more POCs. And that doesn't mean black. When you look at the DEI, black people got less than 4% of the DEI benefits, but they framed it as, hey, we helped people of color. So they had a bunch of white passing Latinos and Asians that they framed as people of color, gave them positions, and then they gave all the backlash and vitriol to black people as if it was a bunch of black people getting all of these positions. That wasn't happening. And even if it was people in his community doing the hiring. This is a capitalist nation. People could hire who they want, right? So if people chose to hire some model minorities or diversity hires, who are you to try to tell people how to run their company? See, these MAGA maniacs and kooky conservatives try to have it both ways. They talk about having a small government and all this stuff. They don't want Big Brother and the nanny state, but then they want to dictate to these private companies. If these private companies want to be wokety woke and hire a bunch of diversity hires, isn't that their liberty to do? Right? Then people turn and say identity politics. Those jobs are for white people. They took our jobs. They took our jobs. Huh? Okay, well, your jobs got taken. It was people that looked like you who wanted to give those jobs to illegal, undocumented immigrants, H-1B visas. Isn't that their liberty to do? You said America first. Well, they said we are going to give American jobs first to people who aren't from here. Isn't that their liberty? I don't agree with that. I don't concur with that. But many of you MAGA maniacs are saying small government, let the free market decide. Well, they let the free market decide and they outsource the jobs. You weren't talking about worker co-ops like my boy Roger always talks about. Y'all ain't talking about that. Y'all consider that socialism. Okay, well then, keep complaining about they took our jobs. Yeah, Elon Musk is talking about we need more white babies. You have some white babies and he doesn't even hire your white baby. He hires Vivek Ramaswamy's kid. Can't blame George Floyd and BLM for that.
It's just heartbreaking that you have been nominated for this position and that you've reached a panel before the United States Senate. But I do want to give you a chance to go a little bit deeper in your explanations of your personal beliefs. They are directly relevant to your fitness to serve. You already have had some of your statements read to you, but I'd like you to respond to at least a few of them. One of the things you have said is that anti-white discrimination is the most pervasive and politically salient form of racism today. So do you continue to believe that anti-white discrimination is more salient than the discrimination faced today by Blacks, Latinos, Muslims, or other American groups?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. And thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind, because maybe you'll suggest that everything.
If this dude cares about this white ethno-state, why are you even bringing up Asians? Notice how many of these MAGA maniacs and the people who want this white ethno-state, why they always fetishize Asian chicks. They always want an Asian chick. Like, huh? How are you purifying and keeping the race, Anglo or heritage American, and you can't stop smashing Asian chicks? They were the original passport bros going over there running amok, leaving the original baby daddies, leaving a bunch of kids that some would call bastard children. Now, I wouldn't call them that because the kids don't, deserve to be called that, but this is what this culture of people who go over there, pump and dump these people, this is what they consider those kids. What is morally righteous about that? They've done documentaries on it. No one has to take my word for it. The people go over there and they do the lummy long time and leave a bunch of kids over there that they don't give a fuddruckers about. It's quite sad and rather pathetic.
That anti-white discrimination is more salient than the discrimination faced today by Blacks, Latinos, Muslims, or other American groups?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. And thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind, because maybe you'll suggest that everything is fine now. Let's rewind a year ago. A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
yeah.
Senator,
no, certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans.
So here he is lying. And of course, this dude is not going to push him on it. He's asking this vague questions. And this is supposed to just appear as if, hey, we're trying to sink this nomination. But this dude should be asking a much more tougher questions. Most people in Congress have a legal lawyer background, so their questions could be more poignant than what they're asking. Instead, they go on these often incoherent diatribes, and then they grandstand and ask questions that aren't truly meaningful. Let's just rewind it back a little bit.
To really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures.
So I'm going to rewind it back, but I remember he said that if you look at the SBA, small business loan, no one take my word for it. Anyone can do a simple Google, Yahoo, or Bing search, and guess who gets the most loans? You would guess it, white people. So then they say they're discriminated against. And then when you say, hey, you guys are getting the most loans, we're the majority of the population. Okay, you're the majority of the population, so you're getting the majority of the loans. So then they start whining and concede that they're getting the majority, but they think that they should have more. Okay, fine. If you think you should have more, take it up with your community. What community is in charge of doling out resources and giving out funds? It would be people like
that look like this dude on the screen. Instead, he blames people that look like George Floyd. He might actually blame George Floyd. It's people in his own community as to why he's struggling and feels discriminated against. Look at the SBA loan. They disproportionately deny Black people business loans, housing loans, but guess who gets them at an even higher rate? White people. The same white people, some, not all, but many of them saying they're being discriminated against. Okay, so when we say we're being discriminated against, you guys tell us to work harder, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. So the people that he's whining about, shouldn't they just work harder and pull themselves up by their bootstraps? This is a white Christian nation, so you have privilege. What are you whining about? This nation was allegedly built and founded for you. Isn't that the propaganda that you're pushing? So why are you whining again in a country that was allegedly built and founded for you? And if you're a victim in a country, who is at the helm? Who is in charge of the infrastructure, the power structure, the military apparatus? It's people in your own community. It's not some random thug from Oakland. It's not some musty nigga from Chicago that did a drive-by. It's people that look like him. But is he blaming people in his community? No, he's blaming some nebulous DEI, CRT, woke, BLM, insert buzzword. This is utterly pathetic.
American groups.
Thank you for that question. And thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind. Because maybe you'll suggest that everything is fine now. Let's rewind a year ago. A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
Senator, no, certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination, at least prior to the Trump administration fixing this, than Black Americans?
On average, Senator, yes, that's correct, and I'm not running away from that statement at all.
You have made several statements about your worry.
So y'all heard that here. Black people need to stop acting like victims, but white people are more victims than Black people because they're being discriminated for what? SBA loans. So Black people are denied at a higher rate. Black people don't even get even close to the amount of loans that the white community does, but somehow he's saying that they're being discriminated more. Is this victimhood? Or what?
Regarding the erasure of white culture in America. I understand Irish American culture. I understand Italian American culture. I maybe don't understand white culture as well. Tell me the values, the white values that you believed are being erased by the current American government or prior American governments?
Senator, thank you for that question. I would say that it's not, I didn't use the word values, I used the word culture. I think that anytime you have large degrees of mass immigration, you're going to have a change in culture, especially if they're coming from culturally dissimilar backgrounds. And no matter what group it is, if it were in China, it would be the same thing. If it were in New Guinea, it would be the same thing.
And just give me one moment. I'm going to pull this up right here. I know this person is kind of likes to do trolling and these low IQ things, but this is for the viewers that come, because this does keep coming up and this is a growing narrative and we like to debunk and dismantle in real time. So like I said, this is not me. These are not my facts. Many people believe in the stereotypes that black people are low IQ. Fine. Don't take my word for it. Look up Pew Research. Look at how Jews are, right? So when giving these choices, 92% of American Jews describe themselves as white, non-Hispanic. There's no gun to their head forcing them to say that they're racially white. This is a voluntary choice. So they choose to check the white box. They identify socially, racially as white, but somehow we're not supposed to call them white. So this person over here is saying, that's a flaw in your logic, is it? No, this is a flaw in your logic because you're trying to pretend as if they're not white. They're probably more European than you. And if they're more European than you, they could be more whiter than you. Are you even a European? You're clearly not of Mayflower heritage, Anglo stock. So where did your family immigrate from? What part of Europe did your family immigrate from? 92% of American Jews identify as racially white. There's no race called Muslim. There's no race called Jewish. There's no race called Middle Eastern. There's no race called Arab. 92% of American Jews identify as racially white. So just stop pretending and stop lying. Let's get back into this video. I mean, I usually don't entertain, the foolishness. It's the Jews. Yeah, the white ones, because Jewish is not a race. Yeah, you're right. It was the Jews, the white ones.
But tell me about what that means. I mean, culture is values, right? It's expressions of identity. Tell me what is being erased. I mean, give me some examples of what you believe are being erased about white identity. What is white identity to you?
Well, Senator, thank you for that.
Tell me how it's different than other identities.
Senator, I think the question of identity is something that lots of scholars
I get you can do a sermon on identity, but just tell me how you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity.
Senator, it would have, thank you again for the question, and genuinely thank you for.
And I'm going to let the video play, but y'all see this cowardly dude. He says white identity is being erased. Who has the power to erase white identity? It's the Jews. Okay, fine. The Jays are erasing white identity. But what race of Jews? Clearly, it's not the black Jews. It's not the Hispanic or the Asiatic Jews. So which one is erasing it, right? And if you know who's doing it, then go step to them. They're always blaming the J people, but they never step to them. Y'all got more smoke for George Floyd, who's not even here, than the people that you say are causing all these problems. Okay. I mean, if you're scared, go to church or go to a synagogue.
Can all be Christians, right, in a certain environment, but after change in culture, especially if they're coming from culture, we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind. Because maybe you'll suggest that everything is fine now. Let's rewind a year ago. A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
Senator, no, certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination.
White people run the legal structure. Most of Congress, white. Most law enforcement, white. Most military, white. Most private defense contractors, white. Most CEOs, white. Huh? What the hell is this dude talking about? It's his people in all these positions of power to change and to influence anything. It's his people in positions of authority. So why is he just sitting up here whining? It's happening on your watch. This is your community that's doing this stuff. Can't blame it on immigrants. Can't blame it on the blacks and BLM and drive-bys in Oakland. This is your community.
My belief, I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So you're
most judges, white. Most people on the Supreme Court, white. How are they being disfavored again? And if they are, it's their own people. This is a white Christian nation, remember? Okay. So the white Christians are running it. And if they're not running it, it's up to them to take control. And if they're not running it, were they sleep on the job? Did they get punked out of control? It's still their fault. You can't say it wasn't stolen. We conquered. Okay, fine. You conquered. So that means that you're in charge. If something happens, something fails, you're in charge. We have to blame who's in charge. You can't say, hey, I'm running this stuff. You bow down and bend the knee to me. Okay, fine. You're running this stuff. And then something happens. Hey, I'm not running it. It's the Jews. It's giving pathetic.
As the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind. Because maybe you'll suggest that everything is fine now. Let's rewind a year ago. A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
yeah.
Senator,
no, certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination, at least prior to the Trump administration fixing this, than black Americans?
On average, Senator, yes, that's correct, and I'm not running away from that statement at all.
You have made several statements about your worry.
And this is where it gets cowardly, because it was people like them, not some lowly thugs in Baltimore that opened the border. It was Biden, white dude. Before that, Trump, white dude. Obama, who actually had more deportations, but he's biracial, so he's half of a white person. Bush and all these other people. A white dude in Reagan who gave people mass amnesty. So the reason why they're opening the border is because as much as they say we need more white babies, they convinced white people if you don't make enough money, then you don't have kids. So a lot of people are saying YOLO, you only live once. I can't really afford a kid, so I'm gonna just live my best life. Other people in what they consider the lower caste of society, they pop out babies. You know, this is why they always talk about welfare queens and y'all having these babies, and this is why they try to have Planned Parenthood and control the Negro problem. And this is why you see a bunch of abortion clinics. You'll be hard pressed to find a Whole Foods or organic grocery store in a black community, but they will put a liquor store and an abortion clinic. You know what I mean? So how they're trying to solve the population problem is that, hey, we'll bring these people over here. We prefer to have them undocumented because we can keep them in the limbo of an illegal alien status. We'll give them temporary protected status. And most of the times, people's first order of business is to drop a baby as quick as possible and as many as possible. Because then in America, we're going to play on your heartstrings. You don't want to separate families, do you? So then once people have babies, even if they came here illegally through nefarious means, if they have 2 or 3 kids, those kids are citizens. They're anchored here. And then people say, yeah, they came in illegally. Oh, but he has 2 or 3 beautiful kids. All right, I guess you can stay. Instead of helping those people get their citizenship, they just keep flooding the border over and over. So they get to replenish their birth rates. Then also that they use those numbers to kind of gerrymander Senate and Congress seats. So, you know, it's a lot. Jerry Nadler, Chuck Schumer, they talked about that as well. So Elon and Tucker, they want more white babies, but the oligarchs just want babies, period. Because in order for them to carry out U.S. imperialism and militarism abroad, they need babies in general. They don't have to be white because most of the white kids, they don't want going to the military, but they could dangle citizenship over many of the men from various countries. Okay, you're from Venezuela. As long as you denounce your country and Maduro and you go and fight our forever wars in the Middle East, hey, we'll give you citizenship. That's a pretty sweet deal for some people, but it's just continuously perpetuating these forever wars and things. And, you know, it kind of pits people against each other because the immigration is not brought to assimilate in smoothly. It's to disrupt, and they're used to weaponize because they'll say it's a nation of immigrants built by immigrants. It's just they don't want these hardworking immigrants living by them. They're like, yeah, go live over there by those niggas, right? They act as if they love them, but they love them as long as they're out of sight, out of mind. Go displace another group, but y'all better not even come close to infringing on our area. NIMBY, not in my backyard, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what the whole opening of the border is about, which both parties support, right? All these Republicans that rail against the Democrats opening borders, look who they hire, right? Not American citizens. They say that they're doing the jobs that nobody wants to do, but they're lying. They don't want to pay American wages. So that's not about people that don't want to do the job. You just don't want to pay the wages. And if that's the case, just say that. Because if somebody says, hey, will you do this job for $5? Hell no. Will you do it for $15? Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Will you do this job for $20? Hell no. Will you do it for $50? Okay. So it's not about people won't do the jobs. People won't do the jobs for indentured servant wages because people got to eat and families to feed. So you can't try to say that's lazy. You're supposed to know your worth, and then you demand what you're worth, and then they say that you're lazy. You know what I mean? Like I said, I give the analogy of the ladies of the night on the street. If it's a baddie over there and she know her worth, hey, look, if you want to get this box, it costs $400. But then there's this other straggler chick down the street that's selling the cooch for $40, right? Is she working harder because she's selling her cooch for $40? You know what I mean? She's working harder than that beautiful woman that's selling that box for $300. How? So that's what they've tried to convince you. Someone willing to work for a lower wage means that they work harder than you. Okay.
Regarding the erasure of white culture in America. You know, and
I also want to give a shout out, John Said Different. I think I already shouted you out earlier, but Big Rick Slaps and Big O in the building. Salute to y'all. Let's get back into it. And like I said, I won't be here for a long time, but a strong time. And it looks like I've already been seeping into the long time territory. So don't worry. I'm going to start winding it down pretty soon.
Structures white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination, at least prior to the Trump administration fixing this, than Black Americans?
On average, Senator, yes, that's correct, and I'm not running away from that statement at all.
You have made several statements about your worry regarding the erasure of white culture in America. I understand Irish American culture. I understand Italian American culture. I maybe don't understand white culture as well. Tell me the values, the white values that you believed are being erased by the current American government or prior American governments.
Senator, thank you for that question. I would say that it's not, I didn't use the word values, I used the word culture. I think that anytime you have large degrees of mass immigration, you're going to have a change in culture, if those are, especially if they're coming from culturally dissimilar backgrounds. And no matter what group it is, if it were in China, it would be the same thing. If it were in New Guinea, it would be the same thing.
Yeah, but tell me about what that means. I mean, culture is values, right? It's expressions of identity. Tell me what is being erased. I mean, give me some examples of what you believe are being erased about white identity. What is white identity to you?
Well, Senator, thank you for that.
Tell me how it's different than other identities.
Senator, I think the question of identity is something that lots of scholars
I get you can do a sermon on identity, but just tell me how you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity.
Senator, it would have, thank you again for the question, and genuinely thank you for finally letting me have a chance to explain some of my comments a little bit. But I would say that, they could be things like going to a certain type of Christian church and that sort of culture, which is very different. I mean, you can all be Christians, right, in a certain environment, but African-American Christians might worship differently than Chinese Christians that might worship differently than white Christians. Of course, sometimes you have multi-ethnic churches, but...
Huh? So he's asking him, what are they losing from white culture? And he brings up church? Huh? How is white people losing their church culture? They don't even go to church with black people. So I get what he's saying, hey, yeah, if you go to a black church, it may be a different worship, tone, etc., than the Chinese churches, which is extremely hypocritical and weird to me because you guys are all praising the Most High and the one God. Why would God want y'all segregated? And if you do believe that this is preordained by God, why don't you just say that then? If we're supposed to, everyone is going to heaven, we're all going to be united in heaven, but segregated on earth. How does that make any sense? Yeah, y'all go to y'all church over there, but don't trip. When we all make it to heaven, we'll sing Kumbaya together. Why we can't sing Kumbaya now? Oh, no. We all got to die first. Huh? The shit don't even make no sense. What white church is under threat of losing their culture? And if they did lose their culture, it would be because of y'all. White people go to church with other white people and other white adjacent people. So if y'all do lose your church culture, it's because of you.
Tell me how you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity.
Senator, it would have, thank you again for the question, and genuinely thank you for finally letting me have a chance to explain some of my comments a little bit. But I would say that, they could be things like going to a certain type of Christian church and that sort of culture, which is very different. I mean, you can all be Christians, right, in a certain environment, but African-American Christians might worship differently than Chinese Christians that might worship differently than white Christians. Of course, sometimes you have multi-ethnic churches, but things like that, certain types of Anglo-derived culture that comes from our history.
Like what?
Let me think about this. Senator, I would say if you were to look at the book by one of your former Senate colleagues, Born Fighting, about the sort of Scotch-Irish military culture and certain, pride that went with that. That would be one example. Obviously, you can have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more.
But you're worried about white culture. You're not worried about, you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than Black identity.
Senator, again, thank you for
spent a lot of time talking about this and writing about this. You're struggling with this, but you should be fairly easily, I would assume, able to tell us your thoughts.
I concur. He's always talking about this, and then he has a situation he keeps saying, and thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Okay, stop filibustering. You've already thanked him enough. Answer the daggone question. He should be able to sound like the most impressive scholar because he's always talking about this stuff. Instead, he's up there stuttering and stammering, sounding stupid as Jim Carrey on Dumb and Dumber.
On how white identity is different than other kinds of identity and how it's being erased.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. I'm just trying to be I'm just trying to be very precise.
How many times is he gonna say thank you for the question? Dude, just answer the darn question. Is this the best the high IQs have to offer? Blacks are low IQ, sub-Saharan Africans. Does this seem like a high IQ dude to you?
Obviously, you could have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more.
But you're worried about white culture. You're not worried about, you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than Black identity.
Senator, again, thank you for
spent a lot of time talking about this and writing about this. You're struggling with this, but you should be fairly easily, I would assume, able to tell us your thoughts on how white identity is different than other kinds of identity and how it's being erased.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. I'm just trying to be I'm just trying to be very precise. Because I'm here in front of a Senate committee, I would say that the white church is very different than the Black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Food ways could often be different.
And those
music could be different.
And those are being erased.
Music could be different. Well, if you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access.
So what white foods are being erased? Is anyone erasing mayonnaise sandwiches, tuna casserole, quiche? What white dishes are being erased? He brought up church. What is being erased from the white church? You don't even go to church with Black people. Black people aren't dictating your food choices. Is Black people stopping you from going to Costco, Whole Foods, or Trader Joe's? So I don't know what he's talking about. The dude is asking him, the dude is talking about a white cultural genocide, but yet he can't name anything that's being erased. So this is almost insufferable. And I hate to torture you guys like that. So it won't be too much longer.
And thank you for the question. What I would say is the biggest thing, because actually, contrary to many of the comments that have been shown, racial nationalists have been very, very critical of my work because they correctly say that I'm actually, of course, not a racial nationalist, which I'm not. I'm a civic nationalist. I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized. And I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better. That
Senator, I have to disagree with that.
But you haven't been able to really coherently answer any of my questions about how you define white culture, how you define the threat that's posed. I appreciate you being very honest that you believe that white Americans are subject to greater amounts of discrimination in this country than Black Americans. I do not think that's a sentiment that is shared broadly on this committee. It is all what makes you just wildly unqualified to take this post. I'm well over my time. Thank you.
Well, Senator, I do appreciate you letting me actually respond. I genuinely do. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Carl,
He spent more time saying, thank you for the question, and I appreciate you for allowing me to answer, but you didn't give an answer. And this dude subscribes to theories of the bell curve, that there's these tiny Negro brains and that white culture is superior and we're smarter than the blacks. Does this dude sound smart? Does he sound like a high IQ Henry? Does he look and sound like a complete bumbling, stumbling, blathering buffoon?
I'll follow up a little bit. You gave a speech to the National Conservatism Conference in July of 2024 entitled "On the Persecution of Whites in America." And one of the things you said was American whites are victims of a cultural genocide. A cultural genocide. Where to start? So you'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that whites are pretty well represented in the United States Senate?
They are well represented in this body, yes, Senator.
And how
Depending on the year, 75 to 85% of Congress is white, but they're victims. Okay. Who has the power to victimize them and to control, subjugate, and marginalize them? What racial demographic has that power? Don't worry. I'll wait.
about in the House of Representatives?
Senator Kane, I don't have those particular numbers.
But
However,
you would agree that they're pretty well represented in the House of Representatives.
Senator, I would, again, thank you for the question. I would point out that there were no white Protestants by birth in the 25 cabinet members under Joe Biden.
How about in the ranks of American presidents throughout history?
Did you hear him say white Protestant? That's identity politics. Why should it matter? I thought they don't see color. Why do they have to be white? Identity politics. And why do they have to be Protestant? Why can't they be Latter-day Saint, Jehovah's Witness? How about atheists? How about Buddhists? How about Muslim? Could they be white and Buddhist, white and atheist? Instead, he's playing identity politics, saying he wants them to be white and Protestant. I thought identity politics was woke. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Carl, I'll follow up a little bit. You gave a speech to the National Conservatism Conference in July of 2024 entitled "On the Persecution of Whites in America." And one of the things you said was American whites are victims of a cultural genocide. A cultural genocide.
The same whites that tell you stop having a victim mentality and you say, you know what? You're right. We shouldn't have a victim mentality. We should never speak about victimhood again. And then in the very next breath, they turn around and say, we're victims, huh? I thought having a victim mentality was bad. Oh, it's cool when they do it. Got you.
Where to start? So you'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that whites are pretty well represented in the United States Senate?
They are well represented in this body, yes, Senator.
And how about in the House of Representatives?
Senator Kane, I don't have those particular numbers. However,
But you would agree that they're pretty well represented in the House of Representatives.
Senator, I would, again, thank you for the question. I would point out that there were no white Protestants by birth in the 20.
And this is a good point, right? There's supposed to be theoretically, a separation between church and state. But you heard this dude. He wants to see more white Protestant representation. Why? Many of the people that were the alleged so-called founding fathers, many of them weren't Christian. So how is this a white Christian nation again? And then let's just say it is a white Christian nation. But then in the next sentence, you talk about how much of a melting pot it is. So if somebody wants to be atheist or Buddhist, what's the issue? This is the melting pot, right? So they try to play these games and say that this is a melting pot. Come one, come all. Bring us, you're sick, you're tired, you're poor, and they don't care about your religious denomination. And then they say that, hey, we should have preferential treatment and privilege towards white Christians. How is that not identity politics?
5 cabinet members under Joe Biden.
How about in the ranks of American presidents? American whites are victims of a cultural genocide. A cultural genocide. Where to start? So you'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that whites are pretty well represented in the United States Senate?
They are well represented in this body, yes, Senator.
And how about in the House of Representatives?
Senator Kane, I don't have those particular numbers.
But
However,
you would agree that they're pretty well represented in the House of Representatives.
Senator, I would, again, thank you for the question. I would point out that there were no white Protestants by birth in the 25 cabinet members under Joe Biden.
How about in the ranks of American presidents throughout history, including now pretty well represented whites?
Senator.
And how about in the ranks of vice presidents during American history? Now, whites pretty well represented in that group, right?
Senator, thank you again for the question.
Yeah. I don't think it's hard. How about on the United States Supreme Court? Throughout our history and including now, whites pretty well represented on the United States Supreme Court, correct?
Senator, will you permit me an opportunity to finish my answer? I think obviously historically, I would of course agree with you. Of course, the vast majority.
Well, we live under a plutocracy, oligarchy, kleptocratic society. So when they say we the people, these are all kind of buzzwords and bumper stickers is what I like to say. Buzzwords and bumper stickers. They're supposed to have meaning, but they really don't, because the default system of these wealthy elites is feudalism. So they've ushered in a capitalist society, really a crony capitalist society, to kind of say, hey, look, this is the diet version of feudalism, but they're pushing towards a more techno-feudalistic society. And ultimately, they would love for society to go back to a feudal society where it's kings, queens, nobles, lords, and everyone else is peasants. So there is no middle class or anything in that. But when they say we the people, they're typically talking about corporations, plutocrats, people who could write a bigger check, people who could make these politicians an offer that they can't refuse, because these people are not trying to get money out of politics, because that's how they enrich themselves. So Stan, don't just hit that like button. Go ahead and share your boy out. Good morning and sock passe. I won't be here too much longer, but I do appreciate you coming through.
Of Americans were white at that time. It's now a much more diverse society.
Let's focus on right now. How about in the ranks of American governors? You think whites are pretty well represented?
Senator, thank you for that question. I would just have to look at the numbers. I don't know.
Okay, how about this? In the ranks of CEOs of major corporations today, let's not talk about today. You think whites are pretty well represented?
Senator, thank you for the question. I suspect that they are probably pretty well represented in that, but there are other areas where they're not as well.
How about in the ranks of high income people? And we can define it however you want. Let's just say like top 10% of wealthy Americans. You think whites are pretty well represented?
Senator, thank you for the question. They would certainly be underrepresented with respect to Asian Americans, but they would be overrepresented with respect to other groups.
Yeah. So, a cultural genocide,
What the hell is he talking about? So, no, the people who hold the most wealth in America is not Asian Americans, it's white people. But what they try to do is this household income thing and say, oh, look, Asians out earn white people. But that's really not the case. It's really based on household income. And on average, they have more people living in the house than them. So, yeah, when you talk about maybe what some would consider the rank and file proletariat, everyday person, yeah, maybe that's true in some industries, in certain instances. But when we're talking about the collective community wealth, no, Look at the most billionaires in America. Do you think they're going to be Asian or white? Look at the people who run the most Fortune 500 companies. Are they Asian? Look at the people who run the private paramilitary defense contractors. Are they mostly Asian? Navy SEALs, are they mostly Asian? Marines, are they mostly Asian? Air Force, is it mostly Asian? What are we really talking about here?
That's a stiff claim.
Thank you for the question. I suspect that they are probably pretty well represented in that, but there are other areas where they're not as well.
How about in the ranks of high income people? And we can define it however you want. Let's just say like top 10% of wealthy Americans. You think whites are pretty well represented?
Senator, thank you for the question. They would certainly be underrepresented with respect to Asian Americans, but they would be overrepresented with respect to other groups.
Yeah. So, you know, a cultural genocide, that's a stiff claim.
You see how they always keep pairing themselves with Asians. First they said whites are being discriminated against. Oh yeah, and some Asians too. And then he say, hey, are you saying the whites are not wealthy? Oh well, yeah, they are when you compare them to the other groups, but they're underrepresented when it comes to Asian. This is just a bunch of vague, nebulous babble. What does that mean? Is he trying to say that the Asian community collectively has more wealth than the white community? We know that that's not true. And what they do is they try to isolate specific Asian groups and say, hey, look at the wealth in the Chinese community. And somehow that speaks for all Asian groups. But there's other people who are considered Asian, right? Southeast Asians, what? They consider Pakistani people Asian now. Are you comparing Chinese versus Pakistanis? Are you comparing Chinese versus Pacific Islanders? Are you saying that Filipinos have the same amount of wealth as Koreans? Are you saying that people from Thailand have the same amount of wealth as Japanese people? So when he's just throwing out there, oh yeah, Asians are more wealthier than whites, how and where? Show me the litany of Asian Fortune 500 companies. They'll say, look at many of these American companies that have an Asian person working for them as a CEO, but that's not an Asian company. So yeah, this dude, and even if there was some sort of white cultural genocide, right? Who would he say is in power? He's saying it's whites and Asians in power, but yet he's blaming black people and he's blaming Jews. Okay, it's your people who's in power. This is what he's saying. Asians have more wealth than us. Okay, fine. Do they have more power and influence and authority than you? And if they do, then blame them. They're the ones in charge, right? If there's a football team, are you going to blame the water boy or the people calling the plays and throwing the ball and selecting the roster for the team? Why would you blame the water boy for the team failing? You didn't give them water soon enough, right? You're blaming the towel boy for your team failing? Shit don't even make no sense.
And it's an interesting one because it's kind of a white victimhood argument. But if I remember my colleague, Senator Rosen, she was reading comments to you where you had been saying, man, Jews play the victim. Jews like to be the victim. And yet you're making a claim that whites are victimized by a cultural genocide when all the statistics would say, not just in history, but today, that whites are very well represented at every level of every institution. They're very well represented in the incomes of Americans. And that doesn't mean each person is high income or each person is a Supreme Court justice, but you could look institution after institution in this country, and the facts completely rebut the notion that whites are victimized by a cultural genocide. I have a question for Mr. Long I want to get to. Mr. Long, we've had a little controversy in the last couple of weeks about Iceland. President Trump gave a speech in Davos, and he said, I'm helping NATO until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. The problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%.
I'm 65, and today I'm switching from doing nothing to Tai Chi chair workouts.
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the great replacement theory? Do you regret any other comment? But why not simply say it doesn't matter what percentage of our population?
Studying the last 6 months, Iceland is a very
made before the United States Senate. And I would love to discuss some of your comments. You're going to be working with international organizations. Do you think one race is superior than another race on the planet Earth?
Senator, absolutely not.
You don't. So do you think that America would be weaker if it was, say, 40% Jewish?
Senator, absolutely not in and of itself. I think the problem.
Well, why did you?
And this where it gets a little bit cowardly. He set this question up as a race question, and then he first asked, oh yeah, would you care if this country was 40% Jewish? Yeah, 40% what type of Jew? An Ashkenazi, a white Ashkenazi Jew? Jewish is not a race. What racial or ethnic demographic do you think has the power, authority, and influence to get Jewish recognized on the census, right? If people could get MENA, Middle Eastern North African, recognized on the U.S. Census, you mean to tell me that there's not enough wherewithal, intelligence, and willpower to get Jewish on the census? So since there's no Jewish box to check on the census, most Jewish people in America check the white box. And here you have Cory Booker trying to frame it as if it's a race. And many people will say that, hey, my race is Jewish. Okay, fine. Show me where it says that on the census. Oh, well, my race is Jewish. It's just on the census. I check another box. Why won't you check other? They have a box that says other. Why won't you check other and then write in Jewish? Why won't you use your AIPAC, ADL, and all of your Jewish muscle and infrastructure? Because you guys are extremely on code. You're smart, sophisticated, well organized. I commend you for that. Why isn't there a Jewish box to check? I've already had someone in the chat, and I even have some of my buddies that they get on my case. You got to stop calling Jews white. Well, where's your movement for delineation? Where is the outrage to have Jewish people not counted as white on the census? Since there's no movement, since there's no outrage, I'm going to continue identifying them as they racially identify per Pew Research in the U.S. Census. Who am I to go against the will of the people? Well, the will of American Jews is that they want to be white, and there's no one in white society trying to stop it. There's some people on a podcast complaining, saying it's the Jews. That's about it. Nothing else is happening. Bernie Sanders is an old white Jewish dude. There's nothing being done to change that. But let's just get back into it. But why is Cory Booker, who's supposed to be a brother, crashing out for the Jews? But he's a Zionist, and he's been buck broken a long time ago. They got photos of this dude carrying some Zionists on his back as if he was like a little mule. Cory buck broken, pussy wide open Booker.
You qualify that?
No, well, Senator, if you let me finish. I do not. I believe that unity, as President Trump has said, rather than diversity, is a greater strength.
But why not simply say it doesn't matter? Mr. Comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret.
Senator, saying the effect of the Holocaust, that we're absolutely wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and defend them here. I just want to be very, very clear on that point. Again, had I been in Germany in that time, even though I'm a sixth-generation American, but had I not, I would have been killed just like anybody else.
I've heard you say that you regret some of your comments about Jews.
Absolutely.
Do you regret any other comments about any other races?
Senator, you would have to reference a certain comment, but I'm certainly not a perfect person, and I'm sure that I've made.
Do you regret any of your comments about Latino Americans?
Senator, I'm sure that if you read me every single comment I'd made about a group, there would be some that upon consideration.
So you stipulate for this body that you have in your past made comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret.
Senator, thank you for the question. As a Calvinist who believes that we're all infinitely sinful and only redeemed through grace.
See, sir, we're sending you into a very diverse world.
Yeah.
And you can't say unequivocally that America, it doesn't matter what our racial makeup.
And here he goes again with the biblical blather and babble. He's saying that we're all infinitely sinful. So why are you guys always talking about black on black crime? The blacks did that. The blacks, what about Chicago? A drive-by here, right? We're all infinitely sinful, right? So why are we judging? Only God could judge, right? All of this stuff is God's plan, right? Do you believe in this biblical divine intervention or not?
Cesar Millan, how to add years to your dog's life.
All right, let's get back into it.
I believe that unity, as President Trump has said, rather than diversity, is a greater strength.
But why not simply say it doesn't matter what percentage of our population is Jewish?
Senator, it certainly doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Senator, if I could finish, as somebody of Jewish origin.
Cory Booker would never say, would you care if 40% of the U.S. population was Muslim? There's no race called Muslim and there's no race called Jewish. So it wouldn't really matter if 40 or 50 or even 76% of our population was Jewish because it's not a race. What race are you talking about? Are you talking about, and even Jews, they delineate within the Jewish faith, right? Mizrahi, Sephardic, Hasidic, right? Ashkenazi. What are we talking about? Are we talking about black Ethiopian Jews? Are we talking about Israelites, right? Or are we talking about more white European Jews? So even if 40 or 50 or 60% of the country was white Jews, what point is Cory attempting to make? It still would be a majority white nation. It just will be more practicing Jews, which is a religion and an ethnic identity, not a race.
And myself, and I do want to take this moment to say, because there have been some comments made, one of my weaknesses, and we've discussed some that you may think in general are weaknesses, is sometimes I take an idea too far. And I made some comments in interviews about minimizing the effect of the Holocaust that were absolutely wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and defend them here. I just want to be very, very clear on that point. Again, had I been in Germany in that time, even though I'm a sixth-generation American, but had I not, I would have been killed just like anybody else.
I've heard you say that you regret some of your comments about Jews.
Absolutely.
Do you regret any other comments about any other races?
Senator, you would have to reference a certain comment, but I'm certainly not a perfect person, and I'm sure that I've made.
Do you regret any of your comments about Latino Americans?
Senator, I'm sure that if you read me every single comment I'd made about a group, there would be some that upon consideration.
So you stipulate for this body that you have in your past made comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret.
Senator, thank you for the question. As a Calvinist who believes that we're all infinitely sinful and only redeemed through grace.
See, sir, we're sending you into a very diverse world.
Yeah.
And you can't say unequivocally that America, it doesn't matter what our racial makeup is. You believe it matters what the racial makeup of America is.
Senator.
Do you believe it matters, yes or no, what the racial makeup of America is?
And this is Cory Bussy Wide Open Booker over here grandstanding, pretending as if it's only the MAGA maniacs and not the lefty lunatics who care about the racial makeup. So the lefty lunatics, they care about the racial makeup of the country, but they allow the MAGA people, the Nick Fuentes, the Tuckers, to make that argument. And then they get to come and say, oh my God, did you hear what he said? That was so bigoted. But Okay, fine. You know, they said they want to close the border and Democrats want to open the border. So since you Democrats love immigrants so much, y'all should have no problem with us dropping thousands upon thousands in your neighborhood, right? Because they work so hard, superior culture, model minority, remember? And then they look at them and treat them like niggas. We're NIMBYs, not in my backyard. Y'all saw what happened when they took the immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard had more than enough resources. They got game out of there. I don't even think they gave them a water. They gave them some celery, peanut butter, and a Capri Sun and said, "You're out of here, buddy." Sent them to a poor neighborhood. Martha's Vineyard isn't a poor neighborhood. They're all for open borders, just not in my backyard.
Senator, to echo President Trump, I believe
I don't want you
unity
to
rather
echo
than diversity.
President Trump. I want you to answer my question, yes or no. Does it matter what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, I'll stand on my comment. Thank you.
What's your comment? Answer the question, yes or no.
Echoing President Trump, I believe unity rather than diversity is a strength.
So you have a problem if America grew to be more Latinos than white people?
Senator, the individual group is not important. This is a cross-societal.
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement?
And see, this is how they try to play these race and ethnic games. First, he asks them about race, and then he's asking them, do you care if it becomes more Jewish? Do you mean more white people who identify with their religion as Judaism? Oh, yeah, what if it becomes more Latino? There's no race called Latino or Hispanic. Many of these Latinos believe in mejoró la raza, blanqueamiento, whitening, brightening, enlightening the race for advancement. So even if these people come over here and identify as Latino, many of them are white and can be hazed and assimilated into whiteness at any moment. So it's a social construct, right? Which means it's fluid. Mexicans could be white for several generations and then they can say, hey, we're not white. We're people of color. Since when? Oh, yeah, we decided that we've exhausted all the benefits and, whites don't really like us and we have a better opportunity of getting benefits under the people of color marginalized group banner. So that's what we're going to stick with. Oh, so I'm supposed to forget how your leaders of your community fought in court tooth and nail vehemently to be legally classified as racially white? They said it was offensive and an affront to the entire Mexican country to say that they're not white. But I'm supposed to consider them what? Something other than white? Yeah, there's people that are of Mexican descent that are not white, but the predominant group over there that are running things are the blanqueamientos, and they want to keep it that way. Look at Telemundo and Univision, right? Mexico was originated in the 1500s. Mexico was a slave colony, so it was plenty of black Negroes over there in Mexico. But they didn't even recognize them as human beings until 2015. Originated in the 1500s, but the Afro-Mexicans didn't get recognized until 2015. And somehow we think that these people are coming over here to befriend us and build some black and brown coalition when many of these people are distancing themselves from not only blackness, but any type of darker pigmentation. Who are we kidding here? So when Corey is over here saying, well, would you care if the country comes more Latino? No, they wouldn't care because many of those Latinos are white. However, they will push this to the MAGA maniacs and the snaggletooth rednecks to make them think like they took our jobs and they're being replaced, which some of them are being replaced and displaced, but they're being replaced with other white people. Largely other white people who speak Spanish.
Replacement theory.
Senator, thank you for that question. This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
You think there's an active effort to, quote unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration.
And you're welcome, Roger. You still ain't getting your black card back. Not just yet, but you're closer on the path. And you sound like this dude. Thank you. And thank you, Roger. Thank you for all your service. Thank you for not believing the lie that Puerto Ricans created hip hop 50-50. Thank you for all you do. Keeping Sabby Sabs on the right track. Thank you for not being a step and fetch it Sambo. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate you.
Policies has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are Black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority.
Senator, I never said anything like that, nor do I actually believe that. I want to be very clear that regardless of country, if people generally share more in common.
And this is where it gets pathetic. He said that he stands by what he believes in. And now when Corey is asking him, hey, essentially, do you have an issue with whites becoming a minority in this country? Well, I never said that. Isn't that essentially what you're saying when you're saying that whites are being replaced and there's a white genocide? But now you think it's a white genocide. However, you don't care if whites become a minority in America. What the fuck is this dude talking about? Just lying after lie. Is this the best the high IQs have to offer?
You think there's an active effort to, quote unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are Black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens.
And Corey needs to stop pretending. When the Democrats opened the border, they barely let any Black immigrants in. It was only 7% of African and Caribbeans combined. It was basically here, bring as many Latinos and Asians as possible. It was almost 80% of Latinos. Of course, most of them whiter, lighter, and brighter Latinos. So they're trying to frame this as some sort of black and brown conversation. But all this is both parties have said, hey, we done with the niggas. You know, we've milked them dry. We've given all of their resources to other groups by framing them as marginalized people of color, overlooked groups. Now we're going to pander towards the Latino because they're going to pop out a bunch of babies. Many of them believe in Mejor la Raza. Many of them actually are racially white. So we're pander towards them to pretend as if they're not white, you know, but Hispanic is a relatively new term. Latino and Hispanic are used interchangeably. Do they have the same definition? No, but no one cares because they're just used as a buffer group and say, hey, they're not white, they're Hispanic, but there's a bunch of Black Hispanics, right? So it's clearly not a race. Just like Jewish, there's Black Jews, Asian Jews. It's clearly not a race. And if you think it is a race, make the box for it. But I can only take so much more of Cory Booker, so we're about to wind this down within like the next 10, 15 minutes.
America because it puts whites in a minority.
Senator, I never said anything like that, nor do I actually believe that. I want to be very clear that regardless of country, if people generally share more in common,
can I read you what you've said? Because it sounds like this. You said the Great Replacement is real, and they are going to try to make you pay for it. Who is they?
Senator, thank you for that question. I simply don't know from you reading that one isolated comment.
So this is the problem. You make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about Blacks. And you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a
And this is what I'm telling you. Both parties support open borders because they see these groups as, okay, this is a group that we can demonize, but then there'll be a buffer group to further cement the blacks at the bottom. So we'll still have this political doormat in football, the blacks, that we can always point to and demonize. And we have a buffer group to where if we get our wish, which is to just bury the black people, then now we have a population where some of them, you know, the lighter, brighter, whiter Latinos could be considered as white, assimilated into whiteness, boost the white birth rate numbers, and then the darker Latinos could be demonized as the new niggas, right? Ronald Reagan, who's supposed to be a bastion of conservatism, he gave them mass amnesty. George Bush Jr., right, supposed to be a conservative, he was talking about a pathway to citizenship. And when they say a pathway to citizenship, they're mainly talking about mostly white Latinos. So that's why I said both parties support open borders. And many of those Latinos, when they want to get over here and they want to come illegally, they'll say, oh, Biden, Harris. Then when they get their footing, they have their paperwork or at least temporary protected status, and they're allowed to vote. Many of them start, I will vote for Donald Trump. They start voting for Mitt Romney and Ron DeSantis and people like this because those people are openly anti-black with their vitriol. But then when people turn that ire towards them, then suddenly, you know, they want to cry foul. But y'all said that we need to get over it. It's not a racist nation. White supremacy doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, don't talk to me about deportations. Don't talk to me about discrimination because white supremacy doesn't exist. So you'll be good. Suck it up, buttercup.
threat to the United States of America and make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about blacks. And you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a threat to the United States of America and create an us versus them. And the only interpretation I can have of us versus them is it's white people against others, which sounds deeply racist to me, that somehow you think our country's greatness depends upon its ethnic diversity as long as white people have more numbers than others. That does not sound like a nation that was founded with the belief that all people are created equal and equal before the eyes of God. It sounds like you have...
Are you kidding me? So I didn't think I was going to have to do this, but hey, Cory Booker, I gotta hit you.
What? Ho, please. Nigga, please. Ho.
Nigga, what?
Nigga. Nigga, please. Nigga, please. What?
And you know what, nigga? You acting like a little bitch right now. You acting like a little bitch right now, nigga. Man, fuck that. I ain't letting that shit ride.
So here we have Cory Booker talking about that this country was founded on these ideals of everyone is created equal. This country was founded on genocidal proclivities and enslavement, U.S. chattel slavery. So while they were saying, oh, we're all created equal, you niggers go back out there and pick cotton. Huh? Where's the equality in that? So here we have Cory Booker trying to tap dance and show that he's one of the good ones. The country was founded on these ideals. No, it wasn't. The country was founded on lies. And it's okay to tell the truth, right? We're a nation of laws, right? In order to be a nation of laws, you have to be a nation that's about facts and truth. So let's just tell the truth. This is not to make people feel guilty, but you should feel guilty if you're lying. So I'm gonna just play a little bit more of this and I'm gonna shut her down because Corey Bussy Wide Open Booker is making my stomach a bit queasy.
Make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about blacks. And you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a threat to the United States of America and create an us versus them. And the only interpretation I can have of us versus them is it's white people against others, which sounds deeply racist to me. That somehow you think our country's greatness depends upon its ethnic diversity, as long as white people have more numbers than others. That does not sound like a nation that was founded with the belief that all people are created equal and equal before the eyes of God. It sounds like you have a racial hierarchy. There's no way for me to read this in any other way.
Senator,
because you have said our country, based upon religious diversity, based upon ethnic diversity, based upon racial diversity, you have indicated that somehow those make America weaker or stronger. That God forbid our nation grows in population, that then you suddenly say, I'm aggrieved, and they are trying to replace us. This is the United States of America. We are one nation under God, but you cut us up and divide us along racial lines.
Senator, respectfully, I do not think that they do.
You cannot use the word respectfully, because you do not respect me.
Oh,
you
no,
look
actually, I
upon
do.
me as my color of my skin. You say holidays like Juneteenth are racial hustles. Don't come here and hustle me. You have said statements that other nations are going to look upon you and read plainly. When you go to a country of a different religion or ethnicity, you have discriminated against Jews in your writing, you have discriminated against others, and then you claim yourself as a victim. Mr. Chairman, I've never seen such a blatantly racist individual who doesn't even deny that he's made these statements, but wants to tell us that he regrets them, and yet still believes that this body, who is committed to principles of equality, who is committed to ideals of our founders, that you're not in direct violation to the ideals and values and principles. And the last thing I want to say, I watched people beat others when they attacked the Capitol, viciously attack police officers. Brian Sicknick, a New Jersey resident, was beaten near death and would die days later. And you say those violent felons, you literally have said that they were treated worse than people during Jim Crow, when thousands of Americans were lynched, murdered, beaten, and killed. You equate Capitol Hill rioters with receiving worse treatment than Americans during Jim Crow, which even some of the worst.
So clearly, Corey is up here to cape for the Jews. Like I said, he said, hey, you discriminated against Jews and perhaps blacks, or he said you discriminate against Jews and others. And how would you feel if the country was 40% Jew? He didn't say if it was 40% black, right? There is at least a racial group called black, i.e. Negroid. What racial group are Jews? So yeah, this is all he was up here do is to, tap dance and spread cheeks for Zionists. So that's why I could only take so much more of him. So let's just let this ride out, and I'm going to get ready to shut her down.
First people who participated in that violence and beatings have come forward decades later and said, I was wrong. It is shameful that when this body ran.
Another thing too, when they talk about the Holocaust, they say the Holocaust and then they bring up Jews. And then when they say Jim Crow, they say People got lynched during Jim Crow. Americans got lynched during Jim Crow. But when it comes to the Holocaust, they specifically talk about Jewish people and all of the pain and grievance that they went through. Now, this is why I did a stream earlier about people need to retire and cancel the term people of color, because now they're trying to use it to leash and tether other people onto the term. Instead of saying that foundational Black Americans fought for civil rights, they're trying to say people of color fought for civil rights. Instead of talking about the Black Americans who were lynched, people of color were lynched. So it's just a way to be a revisionist history. So ultimately, when you say that people of color fought for the civil rights, they should be able to dole out resources to a newly arrived immigrant, because they say, look at all the melanin they have in their skin. They're a people of color. Malcolm X was a person of color and he was fighting for everyone. So we're going to give the resources not to you niggas, but to another person of color who just arrived and doesn't speak English, because that's what MLK would want, right?
For its life, when they had gallows for the vice president put outside, when they tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power, that you would equate those people to the folks that were victimized and terrorized by white nationalist organizations like the KKK. Sir, you have no decency. You have no honor. You say inflammatory things because it thinks it will ingratiate you to those who are paying your salary. And you sit here before me and try to wrap yourself in the American flag. Well, I believe in this nation. I believe in the principles. I believe in those who fought and died for our country. You disgrace that legacy and the ideals that we all swear an oath to uphold, that does not believe in one nation for one people and another people. Dear God, I pray for us if we let somebody like you represent us to the diverse nations of the world as representing the values of our country.
Senator, I
Chairman,
absolutely
yield.
deplore Jim Crow, but I do not agree with the characterization that you have done of my views.
The
A. Cory Booker.
And I quote, you know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
A. Cory Booker.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Cory Booker likes to go on these harangues and call them his Spartacus moments, but he's always crashing out for Zionists. He loves to say that he's a black man and he grew up in the hood and lived in the hood in New Jersey. I don't think he grew up in the hood, but he lived in the hood in New Jersey, which he had security and obviously mass surveillance. But this dude is always crashing out for any issue that doesn't help the black community. So all he is a puppet and a stooge for the Zionist apparatus. Now, I'm about to wind this thing down. I appreciate everyone that has viewed this concurrently and that will be watching this on the replay. I hope y'all stick to the end. It's only going to be a few minutes here and then we'll shut her down. If you didn't like the stream yet, now is the time to like the stream. It won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. And here's a friendly reminder. Time for a like intermission. We kindly request that you show love to the channel's creator and platform by leaving a like, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. Liking posts is completely free and helps the algorithm boost our reach. We want to grow the community larger and larger. So thank you all who take the time to support us. It does mean the world to us and doesn't go unnoticed. Okay, so also you can hit the notification bell. Most of my streams have been impromptu, but if you want to stay abreast on the content, I haven't developed a schedule yet, but the more y'all support me, then the more I will have a day set to schedule so that it works around the schedule when people support me the most. But the viewers have been viewing, the chat has been chatting. I appreciate y'all watching me live and viewing this on the replay. And you can also use word of mouth. Is still the most effective promotion. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Now, if you ballin' or if you're broke and unable to support, I understand. But if you're feeling generous and you do want to make a contribution,
Don't you think it's about time you gave me my money? Want my money? I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. Want my money? I need cash. Want my money? I need cash. Want my money?
okay, so before we get up out of here, I'm gonna hit you. Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy, that dude, shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. It's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me, that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I rock up on them with the 40 ounces. It's the definition of adrenaline. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. Better zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flat line in your Fitbit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Buku for the cocaine to go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on Chirac and then fly back out the mill. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
B-Eazy, that dude. B-Eazy, that dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy, that dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy, that dude. Yeah, they know the name. B-Eazy, that dude.